So, you want to make a live-action Gundam movie. Alright, so unlike the rest of the internet, I'm not entirely sold on the belief that this is just an inherently bad idea. I'm going to be real with you guys. I don't think it's an inherently good idea either, but I don't want to jump to the worst possible conclusions. Yeah, we've had plenty of really, really, really bad anime adaptations in the last couple of years, but, you know, I don't want to rule it out. There have been good ones. There have been ones that didn't necessarily do a disservice to the source material, and sometimes even did things a little bit better. So with that said, what I want to do today is just give some thoughts on what I think would make a good live-action Gundam movie. Just some things that I think that you could do and some proofs that it could be done well. This is by no means exhaustive, and obviously I don't work for Legendary, so this is just kind of me firing some ideas off the cuff, no script, just some things that came into my mind that I wanted to share with you today. So my first suggestion, if I was going to be in charge of live-action Gundam, I would start with the original series as my basis. Yes, I recognize that Wing was extremely popular over here. But that being said, Wing isn't perfect, and honestly, it hasn't aged that well. I want to go with the original for a number of reasons, not the least of which being the original Mobile Suit Gundam is a found family story. That is kind of a millennial catnip thing, if you think about it. Yeah, like, you should set it up as a war movie, but doing the found family angle, that adds a lot of good stuff to your narrative. Now you have this, within canon, within the source material group, this multiracial group of civilians on a battleship together, forming bonds, you know, having some tension maybe, but also coming together eventually as a team and even as a family by the end of the story. It's part of what makes the original Gundam so good. It's part of what makes that ending so perfect, when Amuro realizes that it's never just been about fighting Zeon, but about keeping the people on White Base safe. That's what's going to make a good movie. And that would be your starting point. Use that found family narrative to set up your White Base crew. Now that, of course, leads us to our second strong point. Doing a multi-ethnic cast. Here's the thing, Hollywood has this long history of doing these anime adaptations where they whitewash the characters. They'll take a character and find any excuse to hire a white actor in that role. Now, you know, I've seen a ton of excuses. I'm not really sold on most of them, and yeah, they're all over the place. But here we have an actual opportunity where there's lots of people from all sorts of different races canonically on the ship. You should be doing all sorts of different actors. Now, that said, I don't feel like that's a get-out-of-jail-free card and that we should have a white guy play Amuro. No, I think ideally with a Gundam adaptation, especially if we're doing the original, we should have an Asian actor playing the lead role. I mean, Gundam is a Japanese thing. It's basically Japan's Star Wars. So have it represent that cultural heritage, that touchstone that Gundam has been part of. You know, hire a Japanese or at the very least Asian actor to play your Amuro. But other than that, go nuts. Though it might be called White Base, but you could have all sorts of different people there. And it shouldn't just be Asian. You should have some Latino actors. You should have some black actors. You should definitely have some white actors. Go nuts. White Base is representing all of the Earth, so have an Earth crew. Just everybody. This would be really cool, especially if you're going to play up the idea that the bad guys are kind of space fascists. Hey, while we're on that, point 3, don't go 90s OVAs with Zeon. I know it's really popular and really easy movie shorthand to have the bad guys are Nazis, but you're missing a really great opportunity to do a more interesting bad guy than just doing straight up Nazis. This is not to say that Nazis aren't bad. Obviously, Nazis are bad, but play it a bit more subtle. Play up the aspects of fascism and just totalitarian governments that aren't just Nazis with goofy hats. Make it clear that your bad guys are bad because of the things that they believe, not just because they bear an aesthetic similarity to historical baddies. That's a point to make your Xeon faction really scary. Alright, so I've talked about ways of having it keep up with a modern millennial audience. Here's the next step that goes a little bit backwards, or looks backward fondly on something good. The original mobile suits and ships in Gundam are great, and they are great for a reason. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, like, just so you guys know, I didn't actually see Ready Player One. Book wasn't really my jam, so I wasn't that jazzed for the movie. But a lot of people really seem to get a kick out of the ARC 78-2 showing up in the climax of the film, and that says something to me. That says to me that the original Gundam is still an awesome and memorable mecha design. There's no reason to go crazy updating it. Just go with the original Gundam. Go with the classic, awesome design. I mean, sure, make it a little bit more realistic, add some details here and there, but keep that profile, keep everything that made Okawara's design there intact. Same with the Zaku, same with the gun cannon, same with the dome. These are lasting, cool-looking robots. There's nothing wrong with the original designs, honestly, so just do it in some realistic CG. Maybe 8th MS Team or 0080ify the aesthetic a little bit, so they're a bit more like, you know, big humanoid tanks, but that same profile should still be there. Gundams, Zaku's, they're classic. Keep that design. It's part of what makes Gundam so memorable and great. Lastly, and this is just kind of a minor thing, but something that I think would work. Try something like what Jeff Thu suggested in his awesome video talking about the future of live-action anime. There's no reason Gundam couldn't be a franchise like the Marvel or the Star Wars movies with ongoing storylines, maybe even adapting the Star Wars method of having a main saga movie, you know, the whole Amuro versus Char narrative in your main movies, and then taking breaks to do side stories. There's plenty of side stories out there that could be adapted, or maybe brand new side stories that are waiting to be told. There's so much material in Universal Century that doing an adaptation could lead to some truly epic sci-fi war movies, and I think there's a lot of opportunity there. Also, while we're at it, the Amuro Char thing should be a narrative plot thread that carries through all the movies, but maybe have like a sub-villain who's the main baddie of each one. You know, Char and Amuro is always your main rivalry, but Whiteface versus Makuve might be a main plot thrust, or eventually, you know, the Federation's big war against Giran, and so on and so on. That should be the driving force of the movies, with the Amuro Char fight as the more personal thing going on as part of the story. So, those are just my thoughts. Agree, disagree? Let me know what you think in the comments. And last but not least, I'm just gonna let myself go a little crazy. So before you guys keep on spocking in the free world, here's some thoughts I have on some casting. Now, obviously, these are just some actors that I like, and I don't know the future and have no control. This isn't who I know is going to be in it. These are just some suggestions I have. I'm not going to cast Amuro or Char, because honestly, I think those are parts that should go to younger, maybe unheard of actors, especially the part of Amuro. And I will admit, I don't know that many younger Asian actors right now, so I wouldn't be the best one to pick who should play Amuro. But there are some supporting roles that I feel like I have a pretty good handle on. So here are my thoughts of who should be playing some of the bigger supporting roles in a live-action Gundam movie. Leading the Principality of Zeon, I think would be great, a powerful, intense actor, Michael Fassbender as Giran Zabi. I would love to see that performance. That's something that would be really cool. I mentioned Makuve earlier because I talked about this with Reina, and she had some strong feelings.
Mads Mikkelsen better be playing Makuve or so help me!
Yeah, Mads Mikkelsen would be a pretty intense Makuve. Can't you see him as a baddie in a Gundam movie? Mads Mikkelsen piloting a Gyan? Awesome stuff right there. Well, thinking about who could play Admiral Revel, I was thinking about actors who can deliver really intense speeches, especially after the "there are no soldiers in Zeon" speech in Origin Part 6. And then I was like, oh my god, think about Idris Elba as General Revel. You know, Idris Elba with a beard and stuff. A+. This could be really neat. Like, I was floating between him and basically any actor who has played Robert E. Lee in a period drama recently, because I'm sorry, dude kind of looks like Robert E. Lee. So either I went more with performance than looks, but yeah. Last but not least, because I do feel that, again, we should keep Gundam's roots intact, I'd like to see a lot of Asian actors on whiteface, and there is no one who I would rather see as Ensign Mirai Yashima than Kelly Marie Tran. I know she gets a lot of crap these days. I know that she's mostly disappeared from social media. I adore Kelly Marie Tran. I would love to see her involved in this project. Her playing Mirai would be fantastic. So those are just my thoughts. Do you have any casting choices? Write them down in the comments below. And as always, keep on spocking in the free world. Oh, and because I know someone's going to bring it up, yes, the Gundam franchise is always going to be haunted by the specter of G-Savior just kind of floating over our shoulders with its bad Canadian-produced Gundam movie starring extras from Sliders, ectoplasm getting all over everything. And yeah, I get it. It can make people wary about making another live-action Gundam, especially with a performance like this.
Really, Mark? Is that so?
You two break off, go down and secure the settlement.
I never saw any pride in losing, Mark. Goodbye, my friend.
Mark, what are you waiting for?
Why didn't you just finish the job? Sorry, Jack. It's gonna be a hell of a lot more fun watching
Your ass Friday for a congressional subcommittee.
Well, my day might be bad, but yours is gonna get worse.
Okay, I know, right? How are we even supposed to deal with that? That was... Jack is like the best villain in all of Gundam. Fight me. Dear God. Dear God, that man couldn't act his way out of a wet paper bag.